Hello everyone, how are you doing? I am Pastor Muyiwa, and this is Freedom on Air, and such a delight to bring us word to you again. We started a series already, and we've done about 3 episodes. I think you should just go on my page and check the things we've spoken about, and we've been talking about vertical living beyond yourself. Hallelujah. Living your life, unto God, being a blessing to other people. And I won't be able to go over all that we've done, and this is why I implore that you should please just go and check, the things that we've spoken about in the other episodes, prior. Hallelujah. And the context that we've been dealing with, that, taking our conversation from, is from the book of Job 28 and verse 5. And we've been reading from Message translation. So the Bible says, Earth's surface is a field for grain, but its depth are a forge, firing sapphires from stones and chiseling gold from rocks. Vultures are blind to its riches. So we spoke about, what Earth's surface is. And I remember talking to you about those who dwell on the surface and those who dwell in the depth, those who dwell horizontally and those who dwell vertically, and God's desire, God's intention for us is not so that, we live for the surface, but we live more for, deeper matters and more valuable things, okay? So it says earth's surface is for grain. Grain speaks about food, speaks about things that you consume and you eat. And then we said horizontal living is living for food, living for grains, living for yourself, living for what we will eat and what me and my family, are gonna have. And then we spoke about the fact that vertical living, vertical living, is living for depth, living for deeper things. Because while he says earth's surface, produces for us grains, then it tells us that the depth produces gold and sapphire. Those are more valuable things than grains. Grains are necessary, grains are good, but you see, gold, sapphire, jasper, kubunku, and all those, precious stones are actually weightier and more valuable. And we moved on to speak about the vulture's mindset, and how you cannot come into the depth of the wealth and riches being an opportunist, okay? And after that, we'll move into the mindset of a miner, the kind of mindset you should have. And I remember talking to you about the fact that once you choose to be a vertical dweller, you must make sure that you are brazen, that whatever you decide to do is not dependent on how people respond or how people treat what it is that you have done for them, okay? And that you have to be, your reward has to be what you have done, and that God will reward you rather than how people will respond. And I told you 2 factors you're going to have to deal with. Number 1, you have to deal with the ingratitude of men, and then you have to deal with the indifference of men to the things that you have done for them. And if you can overcome these 2 hurdles, of ingratitude and indifference to your generosity and your kindness, believe me, then you have come into a realm that is actually the realm of the blessed. Look at Father Abraham, for instance, dealing with a man like Lot, and yet still had to go after Lot, even after all Lot did for him. Don't forget, he said, I will bless you, and then you shall have money, you shall have cars, houses, and then live for grain. No, that's not what it says. I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. The intention of God is that He will live beyond grains and will go for deeper things and more valuable and worthy things. Okay? Praise God. And today I will go over the text and then read towards the end of of the text so that we can finish up. Today is the last episode, okay? It says, Earth's surface is a field for grain, but its depth is for sapphires and gold. Okay, I'm taking some things for granted. We've spoken about that. Vultures are blind to its riches. Hawks never lay eyes on it. Wild animals are oblivious to it. Lions don't know it's there. Miners hammer away at the rocks. They uproot the mountains. Now, it says they tunnel through the rocks and find all the beautiful kind of gems. And then it says they discover the origin of rivers and bring its secret unto light. This is deep. This is vital. It says that when these people decide to live a certain kind of life, what happens is the fact that once you get to a point where you make up your mind, I am going to be a vertical dweller. I'm not going to live for grains. I'm going to go for deeper things, more valuable things, things of worth, higher than just me and my family and food. And it says here, one of the things that begin to happen is that it says they find all kinds of beautiful gems. There is nothing, my wife and I were having a conversation a while back, because of the number of people that we have to are responsible for, in helping here and there and all that. And we said to ourselves, there is no greater joy that we could have had apart from the smile that you brought to those families, their children, faces, rather than the value and the joy you will have gotten from if you spend that money on a bag or spend that money on a shoe or spend that money on a shirt, okay? There is nothing that is compared to that. You come into some dimensions of discoveries of deeper joys. You see, joy is in levels. Joy is in grades, okay? Happiness is in levels. There is a joy that comes to you, when you see that you are living as God would have lived. When you see that you are living as God, if God were living on earth and like Christ lived, that lived beyond self, living all that you could have had, and yet saying, I want to live and to help people. Look at what he says here. He says, they tunnel through the rocks, and find all kinds of beautiful gems, all kinds. You come into beautiful relationships, you come into beautiful sense of fulfillment, things that are beyond that thing that money can buy. You go to bed at night, lifting up, voice of thanks to God, that God, thank you for trusting me, that I can handle this, that I can help this person, that I can give to this person. He said they come into beautiful gems. They discover the origins of rivers and bring earth's secrets to light. And I want to round off on this note, that once you decide to live this kind of life, whereby it is beyond grains and you're going for deeper things and more valuable things, you will begin to discover certain things, things about life that no one has taught you before. You begin to know human beings better. You begin to, unveil the revelation of God, the supplies of God, in your life like you have never seen before. And I can assure you, listen, if you're already on this path of digging and then you're hammering and it seems like you're not seeing anything yet, you continue. You're about to discover gems, gems, and then origins of rivers, and then unearth secrets that probably no one has ever told you before. You're going to come into untold riches. You're going to come into prosperity like you've never seen. You're going to come into abundance and much more reward, more than anybody can give you, more than any Gucci bag, any Louis Vuitton, wristwatch, any mansion, any car, of any kind can give to you. I will say this as I begin to close. We have been called to live a higher life, and we can then compare our lives to how wealthy non-believers who don't know the Lord, how they live their lives. So you can go on Instagram or any of those things, and you see people flaunt in Ferrari, Jaguar, Rolls Royce, different cars, different houses, and all those things. So listen, there's nothing wrong, okay? If in buying them, you can still, be a blessing to humanity. I'm not saying, whatever. I'm only saying that's a priority for a child of God, for us who are blessed, and all that. The Bible is clear. He was speaking in Timothy chapter 6 to speak to those who are wealthy in this world, rich in this world, that they should be generous, okay? So we cannot live our life solely for material, possession, but rather, to live, as God will have lived, being a blessing to humanity, living beyond grains and going for the depth, for gems, for discoveries of origins of rivers and bringing earth's secret unto light. I believe this series has blessed you, to learn to live beyond yourself. God bless you, God increase you, God multiply you, and then bring you into things that are unimaginably precious. In Jesus' precious name, amen.